Thank you for being here. I think last year, Governor Palin said we need an exit plan from Iraq. Is that something you agree with and Senator McCain agree with?
Uh, yes, we do need an exit plan for Iraq, but the question, what is it? In other words, a lot of my Democratic colleagues in the Senate, including Senator Obama, kind of gave up on Iraq. And when things were going tough, 2005, 2006, and John and I and others felt very strongly that the constant, again, no matter what you felt about whether it was right to go in, that the consequences of losing Iraq, the central historic center of the Arab world, to Al Qaeda and Iran, essentially, and probably bringing about civil war, if not genocide, was so severe that we had to try everything we could to avoid it. And thank God through the surge and all the economic policies that I've talked about, and the fascinating kind of spontaneous but encouraged by everything else growth of political leadership, national political leadership in Iraq. So the goal has always been to leave, but not to leave on a politically mandated timetable from Washington, but to leave, I guess, under two circumstances. One, if you felt there was nothing we could do to achieve nothing more we could do to achieve our goals in Iraq, which were to help them be a self-sufficient, self-governing country. Thank God we haven't come to that point. But the second is, when do we achieve those goals? And there's a story that's not much told, but the 30,000 plus troops that were sent beginning in early 2007 to Iraq as part of the surge are home, and they are not being replaced. And General Petraeus or General Odierno will make a recommendation for further troop withdrawal. John has said, they really took that 100-year comment, which was part of a classic McCain back and forth at a town hall meeting. One of the things I love about John, people get up and ask him a confrontational question at a town hall meeting. He answers it, and then he says, "Do you want to respond?" And of course, this guy responded, and they got into a little bit of a back and forth. But the sooner we're out, the better. Looks like the Iraqis and our government have agreed that 2011 is a reasonable goal, not a forced timetable, to be out of there with all of our combat troops, certainly. But it's important to add the caveat, as Petraeus always said, we've made extraordinary progress. Ambar was just turned over, the whole province, to the Iraqis. I mean, McCain and I went there in December of 2006, and he was not happy that the Marines wouldn't let us go to Ramadi, which is the central city, and they wouldn't let us go because it was not safe. Now, so Al-Qaeda was in control. So that's my answer. I apologize for having to go. I just want to say generally, this is a remarkably substantive conversation for a political convention. So, hey, thank you. It should lead all of us to think about this. I know those of us who support John so strongly do in part because, as I said last night, I believe he has greater capacity and a proven record to break through the terrible partisanship in Washington and finally get some things done, particularly on domestic problems, and hopefully rebuild that historic bipartisan attitude toward foreign policy, best exemplified by President Truman and Senator Vandenberg, that the partisanship ended at the nation's shores. But the other thing, obviously, is that he will come to this job with extraordinary experience in foreign and defense policy, and to me, a great knack. It's more than a knack, a really strong record of having had the right instincts, understanding that America is about freedom and the spread of freedom. Obviously, we have to do everything we can to protect our security, and a real belief in building alliances. I think one of the most moving things about traveling around the world with John, when he goes into a country that may not be as free as we want it to be, he makes sure that we not only see the president or the prime minister, but we see the human rights activists, the dissidents. I want to say in the context, and that's the experience he's had, which is unmatched, and it's no criticism of Senator Obama, it just says he doesn't have that experience. it's not going to be easy to be president of the United States come January 20th, 2009. I was thinking about it the other day. It's the first time since 1968 that there will be a change of administration in wartime. I mean, we're at war, Iraq, Afghanistan, and the most unconventional global war with Islamist terrorists that we're in. We have a range of problems now beyond that, including the rise of Russia as an autocratic power and all the humanitarian concerns that exist around the world. So this is a fateful decision. It's really a very important decision the voters are going to make, and it's in that spirit that I thank the Center for focusing on these questions today, and of course it's in that spirit that I so enthusiastically support John McCain to be our next president. Thank you very, very much.